Everyone, it's Emily Fox. Today's video is going to be all about popular book series that I am not going to be continuing. A few of these I might, ask what you think, but generally speaking, probably not going to happen. So let's get into it because I do have quite a list. Oh, by the way, I did do a version of this with popular book series that I need to continue, so I will be linking that down below. I recommend you check that out also. By the way, if you notice the list, I just started doing Invisaligns again, so I'm struggling day one. Some of these will come at absolutely no surprise, but some of these might have some type of reactions from you. The first one, I don't think anyone is going to be surprised. The first book of this series, because I can't remember what the series is called, A Court of Thorns and Roses? Whatever, you know what I mean. The one about fairy eggplants. I don't want this video to be demonetized, but Cindy has been talking about this series a lot. So if you want to check out her videos, you definitely should, because she makes fun in a very entertaining way of this series. But yes, overall, I read the first 3 books, and in my defense, I thought it was going to actually be a trilogy. So what happened is book 1, I read it because of the hype, because I'm curious. I always want to know, like, will I have the same opinion as everyone else? Will I just hate it? And this one, I was kind of about it. I didn't really get the hype. I hated the romance. Other people in real life were reading it with me, and I was questioning their sanity. Why would you enjoy this abusive relationship? I hated it so much. But I wanted to continue just because I kept seeing people saying that book 2 was so much better. So I went into this one with very low expectations because I really didn't care for the first one. And to my surprise, I ended up enjoying it a lot more. There's a really great group friendship in there. The characters are much better. I have a lot less issues with it. To be honest, it's like a pretty good / average fantasy book. I want to say why it's new adult, but you know what I mean. I think one of my main issues was the sex scenes, obviously, and the ending. I felt like it was very convenient / it's not a spoiler, but like a lot of characters end up matching together, and I hate how forced that felt. So yeah, issues with book 2. Then I read book 3 just because I thought it was a trilogy, and I was like, let's just be done with it. I want to see if I'm gonna hate it like the first one or like it like a second one. It felt like, how people say sometimes book 2 in a trilogy felt like suffers from middle book syndrome. That's how that one felt. There was a lot of like preparing to battle and like people disappearing until the end of the book, and just no. So yes, I'm not planning on continuing the series. I believe there's a novella that came out. Didn't read it. Will not continue. No. So probably to no one's surprise, but I'm officially giving up on the series. I often get asked what I think about it. Now you know. Yes, I'm done. I'm done with it. Another one is The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I believe it is considered a series. It's like 4 or 5 books that are happening in the same universe. I read the first one because it was fairly short / it's so popular, and I love sci-fi. I felt like it was too, like the type of humor is too absurd for me. It's just not my thing. Out of context, some of the jokes and stuff, like the ending, it's fine, it's good, whatever, but like reading it, I wasn't enjoying myself, so there's no point for me to continue the series, no matter how many people rave about it. I'm done. Okay, this is one of the ones that it has a little asterisk, but probably never going to happen. Nighthouse by Leigh Bardugo. I was super excited to read this series, well, the first one, in this series, because finally an adult book by her, and I had overall enjoyed, her other books, and I was just excited to read more. And I was so freaking disappointed. It's like a paranormal, I guess, story. The setting is like an university. There's like a magical, I guess, library-ish hinted. And that sounds like something I would enjoy, but I really didn't. I was so bored. The main female character is unlikable, but I don't think it was purposely done. Not 100%. The only person I cared about was one of the side characters that I can't remember the name of. He's the only person, like the only reason basically I continued the book. And yeah, there was just a lot of blah blah, not a lot of action, like not even really character driven. And some of the stuff that happened, like flashbacks that, you know what I mean if you've read it, no. So I'm definitely not going to continue unless, and hence the little asterisk, unless everyone reads book 2 and everyone is giving it 5 stars, like people that, also didn't care for the first one, people that I trust, yeah. So unless that happens, No. Ooh, that one is a bit, last month in my wrap up, I read The Girl in the Stars by Mark Lawrence, which is the first book in the newest series by him, the Ice series, and it's in the same universe as the Ancestor trilogy. So I was super excited to read it just because I love the magic system and the universe, and the first book was so disappointing, like so disappointing. Like I just didn't care. And it's another case of, unless everyone that really didn't care for the first book, because the reviews were surprisingly low, unless everyone is like coming out and giving it like 5 stars, I'm officially done. So yeah, that is like, this is going to actually be in my most disappointing books of the year, because I had really high hopes for it and just didn't care for the main character. I didn't care really with the story. I have no idea where it's going, but like the things I cared about, the magic system and like some type of intrigue that wasn't fully solved in the first trilogy, it's not really, like, it's barely mentioned in this one, and like unless it gets so much better in the rest of the series, nah. Ooh, this, I didn't think this was going to be a series, but there's a second book coming out, I believe, later this year. Ready Player 1, there's going to be a Ready Player 2. I had read the first one in the beginning of my booktube journey, like 4 years ago, and my reviews tended to be a little higher back in the day. I feel like when you haven't read that many books, it's hard to rate books in the beginning. You know, you don't want to be too harsh in your reviews. I feel like everyone on booktube kind of get that feeling, right? So I think I had given it 3.5 stars. If I were to read it now, it would probably get 2, just being honest. It just that it felt very info dumpy, which is not a word, and like very heavily inspired by, you know, the 80s TV shows and like video games and all that stuff, which people that may have lived through those years might have enjoyed it. I wasn't born. I couldn't relate to most, if not everything that was mentioned, which, you know, I could have looked past if the rest had been good, but I had so many issues with the whole thing. So it ended up being kind of meh overall, plus those negatives, so it's kind of a disappointment. So yeah, I have no idea what book 2 will be about. Yeah, even if, you know what, even if people give it 5 stars, I will not read it. I'm really like just not interested. If there's a second movie, would I watch it? Probably not, actually. See, this definitely belongs in this video. I will just not continue. I have zero interest. So I feel like so far I've been disappointed by all books that I've read that have like a video game type of theme. So if you have any great recommendations, please let me know. But so far, actually, speaking of Warcross, which I had mentioned in my most disappointing books of 2017, 18, no. I had been calling this the you know, girl version of Ready Player 1, and they were equally bad, so definitely not continuing that series. I couldn't even finish the first book, so maybe it doesn't really belong in here, but yes, not happening. You by Kaela Clifton. This became a TV show, which I've watched some, but I need to finish it. I had read the first book. It's creepy. I had a bunch of issues with it, but overall, you know, like it gives you that feeling of being creeped out. Obviously, a lot of the book is written in second person, hence the you. So like you follow the story through the eyes of the stalker, so it's kind of weird, but not in a bad way. However, I did have some issues with it, but I felt like it was satisfying on its own, and I've seen the reviews of book 2, is it Hidden Bodies? Maybe. The reviews are really terrible, so I'm definitely not continuing this. I feel like I should just leave it as it was good enough on its own, and I don't need to ruin it for myself, so yes. I read also Lifelike by J. Kristoff. This is a YA sci-fi by him. I'm not going to continue because I was just not interested. I struggled to finish this one. I did really enjoy Nevernight Chronicle by him, so like that was fine, but it's an adult fantasy, and I think I'm just going to avoid any YA books by him. No, really, like, I'm struggling to tell you my issues with it because I feel like it was just so unmemorable that I'm like, I was bored throughout the whole thing, and I felt like my eyes would just, you know, go like, graisse de bin, like we would say around here. Like, I just couldn't focus on it. I would just go anywhere else. So yes, no. I feel like a lot of these books I've unhauled so super quickly. I'm definitely not going to continue Cruel Prince, which I didn't care for. I know a lot of people said they got better, but I'm just so not interested. Same thing with the Lunar Chronicle. I've unhauled the first 3 books that I had. I just no interest. I feel like it was something that was really popular on Booktube, but like I'm just too old for it, slash I feel like it's the perfect example of books that I feel like they look thick, but then you read them and nothing happens. So the ideas are not bad, but it's just not for me. I'm just, yeah. Strange a Dreamer wasn't bad per se until the second half when the whole insta love happened, so I have no interest in continuing the series. I think it's a duology, and I do feel like the reviews were saying that the insta love thing continues. Like, the world was interesting. I'm still a bit intrigued, but just not worth pushing through. Finally, in the YA category, I think this is the last one, To All the Boys I've Loved Before. I read the first book, liked it just fine. Read book 2, was so disappointed. That felt like a book that should not have existed. And then never picked up book 3 just because I was so annoyed with book 2. I will happily watch the movies. I feel like that's the type of thing that it's an easy, you know, chick flick to watch, and they're good, and I like the character. But like, I hated the romance slash the drama happening in book 2, so I'm just not really interested in seeing how it's going to end. I have a feeling where it's going, and I'm not happy with it already. So yes, I will not be continuing the series, but we'll watch the movie. Also, The Passage by Justin Cronin. I believe I also unhaul that one. It's a trilogy, but the first book literally feels like a whole trilogy. It's so big, and like 2-3 times actually you start from zero basically, and it's so exhausting to read. It's a post-apocalyptic book with vampire zombies. I don't even know how to describe them, but yes, I feel like I just went on a huge binge reading phase of like post-apocalyptic book when I started Booktube, that I'm like, I feel like I've read them all, and like none of them ended up being like an all-time favorites, contrary to my first contact with aliens phase, which is still going strong. So yeah, I still have a few in that category that I do want to read, but I will never continue this trilogy, so let's just admit it and move on. I also have Nevermore. I've been asked a few times how I feel about this. This is a middle grade fantasy. I read it because people were saying Harry Potter like, which no, I will never trust ever again. Any type of synopsis, whatever summary that described the book that way. No, it's never true, ever. In the first book, yes, there's like a magical universe, but there's no schooling. There's no learning with magic. Yes, there's a giant cat, which was the one redeeming quality to me. But like, why would you describe it that way if there's no magical school in the first book? Maybe there is some in the rest, because I know they've continued the series since, but like... So yes, I haven't continued. I don't really care for middle grade. I don't read a lot of them, like unless they're like the classics, which I have a few on my shelf that I do want to get to, you know, like Matilda or something that I read this year. That was fine, you know, it's great. But yeah, I just didn't really care enough. I unhauled this a while ago. I'm sure someone found it at a library sale and was very happy, so that's fine. But yeah, just not for me. One that I'm not sure... I feel like it's going to be one extreme or the other. I'm either going to just never pick it up again, or just binge read the whole thing just for the sake of a series on YouTube. You vote. Let me in the comment section, actually. The Immortal Instrument slash the Dark Artifice, the Clockwork, whatever series. I don't know. You know exactly what I'm talking about. I read the first 2 books in the Immortal Instrument series, and then never finished the 3rd book. I was just starting it. I had so many issues with it, and I feel like I would have to restart from zero. I read it because the hype. I have most of the books, actually. They're right up on top of my bookshelf. They don't even deserve to be on the shelf. But yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm either, like I said, just gonna unhaul the whole thing, or just binge read it for the sake of a video, just to talk about my issues with it. Is that bad? But I feel like it could be an interesting discussion video, because like I feel like sometimes some books, like I feel like these ones, it's very easy to pinpoint all the tropes that I don't like in YA books, and I feel that could be an interesting, you know, topic of discussion, not just like bashing it for the sake of it, although a little bit just for, you know, our own entertainment. But yes, you vote in the comment section. Should I read it? Should I not? Same thing with the other ones that I've mentioned, although again, I'm pretty sure about most of them. So that's gonna be it for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Thumbs up, subscribe. I will be putting more videos on the screen that I recommend you check out, including the one that I mentioned earlier with the popular book series that I will / need to continue. Let me in the comment section, personally, which book series you're planning to just never pick up again. You are done with it. Maybe an author. I did do actually a series about that too. I'll link that down below. And I'll see you in an upcoming video very soon. Bye.